Welcome to Ask When, everyone. We're now in season 6, which I can't believe. And we ended season 5 on Friday, last Friday, which happened to be my 31st birthday. Yes, I had a wonderful birthday. And thank you guys for all the love, and I got to hang out with people that love me and support me, and you guys were involved, and I'm going to let Esha take it away because Esha's here to tell a story and basically interview me, and so I'm going to let Miss Esha take it away.
Good morning, everybody. This is Esha Caldwell, also known as the Whale and Wall, and I'm excited to be here, Wynn. I am appreciative of this opportunity. So first and foremost, my main question is, what made you choose me?
What made me choose you? Well, what made me choose you is I found you on LinkedIn 24 hours ago. I'm not kidding. And I thought your story was interesting enough because you were homeless for 5 years and then decided to write a book. So, yeah, I want to know why you got out of this icky position of being homeless and decided to write a book. And I want to know that from you.
Definitely. Actually, writing and art became part of my therapy as I was going through. I'm a depression sufferer, and I'm one who refuses to take any medication because I don't want to be lethargic. And my depressions tend to be more situational and emotional. So I know that when things are going smoothly, my mood is okay. But for me, the writing and the artwork just became a way to escape. And I spent 5 years writing, and I wrote about things that I saw that were good, things that I saw that were absolutely horrendous, and other things that I knew needed to change. And throughout that, that's how the nonprofit that's being formed today has come into play, because I see the gaps in the homeless service, and not just within Dallas, Texas, but in homeless service, period. There seems to be an atmosphere and an attitude of this person is less than and I can treat them any way that I desire because they have no other choice but to take it if they want to receive service. And that's what I want to break and change.
Well, excellent. You're the woman to do it because you were on the streets for 5 years. And you guys, this is public knowledge on Aisha's LinkedIn profile. She's not hiding that she was homeless due to depression. And the reason why I thought it was fitting to bring Aisha on is because of the week before my birthday, Kate Spade took her own life. And for those of you who have no idea who Kate Spade was the famous handbag designer and shoe designer, and all this world-renowned designer of shoes and handbags and clothes and everything else. And for those of you who just climbing out from under a rock, now you guys don't know that I'm actually getting a degree in fashion journalism. So that was a huge loss to the fashion community and to myself as a fashion journalist. And so the fact that Kate Spade was depressed and took her own life, that's not a good thing. And then 1 week later, we had Anthony Bourdain take his own life. And for those of you that don't know, I have to say that subject is food, and wine, and yes, I said wine. And so him in the chef's community, that was a huge loss for the chef's community. So that's why I wanted Aisha's story on this podcast to make depression loud and clear. And it's okay to be depressed. You just have to tell people about it so people can get you help.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And then the thing about when you're handling, and I did this on my Facebook post, I talked about it because I have a lot of people who have been voicing that they were contemplating suicide or they were connected to someone who committed suicide or had just buried someone, you know. So when we're talking about it in terms of connection, one thing I mention over and over again is to listen with your mouth shut and listen with the intent to really hear from your heart, not with the intent to bring a solution or to be somebody's savior, take off your hero cape, rip that S off your chest. Really, really listen, and not just listen to what they're saying, but to what's not filling in the gaps. You know, and I threw up the National Suicide Prevention Hotlines because the more you understand and know about depression, it's not something that someone wakes up one day and says, "Oh, I just want to be depressed." It's something. It's a bully. It's a bully, and it beats you up mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. And it's difficult to talk to people because you don't want to be pitied, you don't want to be labeled, you don't want to be seen as anything adverse to normal. And a lot of people who hear depression, they have this very, very sad attitude of, well, just go kill yourself. Well, just get over it. And it's difficult because you wake up with you every day, and we all live in our own heads. So you're battling invisible demons that, you know, you can hear them, but you can't see them, and you don't know how to fight a lot of the time. And for most people that go through that, whether they're medicated or not, they feel like the only answer is to self-terminate. So my encouragement is to the people who don't suffer with depression, but you know somebody who does. You see something going on, so like somebody's being bullied, or talk to the bully, talk to the person that's being bullied, find out what the root cause is. A majority of depression has a root, and until you address that root, that's where I can say I know mine is situational. When my situation is okay, I'm okay. When my situation seems terminal, then my mood alters because I don't know how to deal with the negativity of that situation. And I've had to learn how to cope, to persevere so that I don't self-terminate. I mean, I'm a person who has made multiple attempts on her life, and I don't recommend it. There's so much more to life to live if you just give yourself a chance. But we have to be people who have an open heart to really hear the pain of that person. And then other people try to use it as a point of sympathy. Oh, if I tell you I'm going to kill myself, you'll start loving me more, you'll start doing more. Please don't do that, because you're taking away attention from somebody who's desperately in need. You know, I read a story the other day where a young lady committed suicide because her abuser got out on bail. She was only 14 years old. You know, so we really need to address this issue because we're losing kids by the thousands. We're losing adults. You hear it every day on the news, and it's got to be taken seriously.
And when you say self-terminating yourself, you're not only talking about suicide, you're also talking about cutting yourself, cutting of the skin onto you.
Yes, because I have a niece who does that, and I'm constantly counseling her whenever I can. You know, it's sad. Our youth is going through so much that we can't even begin to understand in a lot of places. And if you don't have a safe place to unload, then you self-destruct.
And I'm going to jump in here for 2 seconds. Because I had the situation, I had it from 2007 to 2009, my boss, and I wrote a book about this because I wrote a fictional novel about this called The View from My Fabulous Teaching Desk. And my boss was a bully towards me. She was, I believe, bipolar too. And so what if the bully is adult? Can you still talk to them? I know you can talk to kids and they're bullying and they'll change their ways, but what if the bully is a grown adult? And what if the bully is your boss that you're supposed to respect?
You know what? I've had a situation like that where I've had a boss try to do that, and when they finished going off, I asked them what they were really upset about. Do you need a hug? Do you need somebody to listen? And the look on his face was like, his whole face just fell off. And he walked away from me. And then around lunchtime, he came back and he says, were you serious? And I says, yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I don't like it. But, you know, I also understand there's a root. And this took me years because I used to clap back and snap out. But I had to learn that everybody's a human being. And that bully had to learn it from somewhere. They didn't just wake up one day and start beating up on people. Something had to happen. So we took a minute, and his mom was dying of cancer, and he had no help. And, you know, he was struggling with, I'm losing my mom, and I don't know how to cope, and I've got my own bills, and I've got all this guilt because I wasn't there and I didn't do this. And he literally unloaded until he wept. And, you know, we talked for a good hour and a half. And when it was over, he actually thanked me. He says, you know, you're the first person that actually asked me what was wrong with me. You know, other people just took it and complained, but nobody bothered to ask him, man, what's going on with you? Are you okay? And that's now I'm saying this because not everybody's going to respond like that. Some people are going to just just shut up and mind your business and blah, 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 blah. Pray for that person. But understand they're still a person. There's a reason that a toddler acts out when it doesn't get its way. And that behavior doesn't change just because they wear a suit and a tie or red bottoms. You know, that's still a human being going through something. So we need to address both sides. The person that's being tormented as well as the tormentor, because that tormentor has somebody tormenting them. And you'll commonly find, too, that a lot of kids that bully have either an issue in the home or somebody somewhere, some adult somewhere is applying too much pressure on that kid. And they're looking for somebody that they know won't fight them back. That's why they unleash on what they consider the weaker kid or the weaker adult. They don't, you notice that even in the workplace, they don't snap out on just anybody. They pick and choose because they know who to go to, who's going to be docile enough, not pop me in my mouth.
My boss, now that I think about it, unfortunately, she did this on purpose. Unfortunately, she chose me because she thought I was a victim, and due to my cerebral palsy, she didn't want anything to do with disabilities or compassion. And I got depressed, and God bless my mom, but she didn't see the big picture. My mom didn't see the big picture. My dad pulled me out of that job. Thank you, Dad. Because my mom didn't see the big picture, and my mom passed away in 2010, and from brain aneurysm, and which was slow leaking, which we believe the brain aneurysm started slow leaking on her birthday. But she wanted me to have a job and she wanted me to get into the educational field. I don't know why, but she didn't see the bigger picture of I had a bully in my workplace environment, and she hired, now listen to this one, she hired that bully as my aide at one point, and I hated that summer. I hated that summer because it was just bully and I. In vehicles, it was just a bully and I in this place, and no other adults were around me to defend me, and of course, the other adults let it be like a duck in the water and slide off their backs. I mean, my boss was a bully to everyone, and all the rest of my crew was able-bodied and couldn't care less. And since we were all getting bullied by Don Ryan, we were all getting bullied and didn't know her mood swings. People weren't there to stick up for me. And so now that you say that, Aisha, the next time someone tries to bully me, I'm going to ask them, what's wrong? Do you need help? Do you need my help? Do you need someone else's help? Because at the time, I was going through health issues, and health issues on top of bullying isn't fun. Being the victim isn't fun.
It's really not. And the thing about bullying is that it occurs in the workplace more often than people realize, and not enough people know that there is help available. But because we don't have these conversations often enough. But I'm glad that we're having this one, and I encourage all your listeners to please continue these conversations in your communities, in your schools, in your business meetings, at your board member meetings. Reach out to your people and be aware that too, you have homeless people working at your workstations that sleeping in their cars. Find out who needs help and what assistance agencies are in your community. Get involved, volunteer, work on a suicide hotline so you can understand the depths of it. Look at, have mental health days at your workplace so that people understand that it's okay to ask for help. There's nothing wrong. We have to break this stigma over everything, over homelessness, over the way we look at people with depression, the way we look at people who have what we call a disability. You know, we really have to change these mindsets and viewpoints and how we judge what we think we're looking at, because it's tearing people down where we need to be building them up. And as a community and as a country, we need to pull together. Our youth are looking at the way we handle things, and they're led by example. All this social media, all this technology, they have so many different images being thrust at them by the millisecond, and it's overwhelming. So we have to be a direct, in-their-face, positive influence to show them that, you know, there's another way. You don't have to be abusive towards anybody. You don't have to receive abuse from other people. And, you know, if you don't want to talk to me or you can't talk to your family member, well, here's a community agency that will gladly talk to you and take you through the steps and do what they need to do. Our protect and serve officials need to be trained better in how to handle people who have a mental disability, you know, or autism or anything that could impair personal judgment and how to handle a stressful situation. We all need better training in how to just be open and really have a more genuine conversation so that we can alleviate a lot of this bullying nonsense.
Yes, we do. And and this is going to make me cry now, but from 2006 to 2009, I was scared to go to work because I figured I had a bully. My dad knew about it. I tried to explain it to my mom. She saw what was going on. She didn't care. And not to say that my mom didn't love me. She loved me dearly, but she was just so into the bigger picture that she did not care that I had a bully and look. And so from 2006 to 2009, I was scared to go to work, but I know I needed to do it for my kids at the time. And because I was scared that the bully was going to whack me in the face. Really, whack me in the face. This person was not only a bully, but she was bipolar. And when you're dealing with a person with bipolar, they have major mood swings. And I was witness to one of the major mood swings. We were in Dallas for the National Early Childhood Education Convention. And we get off the plane, we go to the hotel. She looks at me and says, "When?" I forgot my medication at home. Now, granted, you're supposed to pack your bipolar medication when you leave. And granted, she had young kids at home. She was dealing with a bunch of stuff behind the scenes, which kind of went public. Thank you very much. And so, and then she goes, "If we don't get my medication, I'll go wonky on you." Then she starts laughing at me. And I look at her with a straight face, and I said to her, "That isn't funny. That isn't funny. You're supposed to be helping me with my physical needs, and you're bipolar? And you didn't tell me this before I got on an airplane with you?" Jesus.
Right.
So not only did I have a bully, I had a bipolar aide. And this is the first time I've admitted that on my podcast. So no wonder why I want to walk away from education, not only because of the paycheck, but because of the emotional abuse I got at the beginning of my educational career from 2006 to 2009.
Mhm. Yeah, I can understand that entirely. My mom is bipolar. My mom is bipolar, and the highs and lows of that are difficult to ascertain as well as maintain. And I don't think she's on any bipolar medication. My mom and I don't talk very often, but it explains so much when she opened up about her diagnosis, about how things were as I was growing up. It made perfect sense because you never knew. Like I only knew like the mood of the house by what music was playing, and if it was happy music, it was okay. If it was sad music, we were going to have some drama, but we would be okay. If there was no music, like total dead silence, I knew it was going to be absolute chaos, and I just didn't want to go home. We really have to. I don't even know how to address that because as a depression sufferer, and I know there are different levels and stages and all kinds of diagnoses when it comes to depressions. Medication is an answer. Diet tends to be a lot of it. Exercises is another component that really helps with mental clarity and acuity. So I don't know. I think people, we need to find a way so that it's dealt with but not used as a crutch. I've seen a lot of people take a diagnosis and that's just a point of sympathy and empathy versus, I have the diagnosis, but the diagnosis doesn't have me. And that's where I am with my depression. I have the depression, but I'm refusing to allow it to have me. in terms of controlling my life or my habits. I'm learning how to overcome and battle it because life still has to go on and I still have things to do. And with your situation and having that bipolar aide who, it really sounds like that person was in touch with their diagnosis but used it as a means how can I put it, to sustain their personal aggressions rather than deal with the root of their aggressions.
Yes. And she was just mean as all get out. And she had kids, and she was an 11th parent. Let's just put it that way. And part of this is public knowledge. If you go back to about 2009, you'll read in our local paper, which is the Aspen Times, that her daughter, my aide's daughter, slept with a homeless man underneath a bridge here in Aspen by the airport and got sexually abused by this homeless man, and she had to go to court. And the night it happened, I said, don't you want to go check on your daughter? And granted, the daughter was 16, so she was a minor. And she goes, no, I don't care. And I'm like, really? Billy, you're at my house, and your daughter's, we just got a phone call saying that your daughter's sleeping with a homeless man, and you don't care. I'm like, yeah, something's wrong with this picture. Yeah.
Yeah, that's you wonder about personal childhood. What was not so much the daughter. I mean, the daughter had to be exposed to something for that behavior to take place. But what was the mother's childhood like? What was she exposed to where she can say, I don't care? What was going on throughout her youth? Yeah.
So, okay, this is my last and final question, and I am going to let you ask me a couple questions about anything for the exception of cerebral palsy, because I use that as my gift, not my curse. But my last question for you, Aisha, is how do we do this as a community all across the country, those who are listening to this podcast? How do we break the stigma of workplace abuse and toxic workplaces? And how do we break the stigma of homelessness and workplace bullies?
Well, it starts with remembering that you're not dealing with a situation or a diagnosis. You're still dealing with a flesh and blood human being, just like you're a flesh and blood human being. That person feels, they breathe, they live, they have ups, downs, doubts, good days, bad days. They have to eat to live, and they need toilet paper when they use the bathroom. I mean, we're all simple. When we start looking at people as people versus you're an addict, you're homeless, you're cerebral palsy, you're mentally this, when we stop putting people in categories and just remember that's a person, that's when those stigmas are going to change. Just like homosexuals don't want to be labeled as gay or transgender or any of that. They just want to be seen as people because they are. None of us are better than anybody else. And when we really start looking at, whether I'm a CEO, a janitor, or I'm homeless under a bridge, I'm still a human being, and I still have to go through the courses of life. When it comes to deleting the stigma, we have to destroy the mindset of I'm better than you because, or you're less than me because. That's where we have to start. And it starts with conversations like these, and they have to continue. They have to continue in the schools, in the churches, in the synagogues, in the mosques, in your bodegas, in your local grocery stores, in your community centers, on the playgrounds, in the courtrooms, in in the boardrooms. These conversations have to continue because we're losing people, not situations. Situations are going to be there, but if you address it as, oh, well, you're homeless because you want to be that way, or you're an addict because you want to be that way, not everybody chose that life, and things happen. In the 5 years that I was walking through homelessness, I met a lot of people who ended up homeless because of medical situations. They ended up spending so much money on treatments for their health condition that they lost their home. Their homes were foreclosed on, or they lost a job and it was difficult to find employment, so they ended up losing a home, or they were burned out of a home and didn't have renter's insurance or homeowner's insurance. You know, life comes at you like a freight train throwing softballs and bats, you know, and you duck and dodge as best you can, but life happens. Not everybody woke up one day and said, hey, I just want to be an addict, or I want to be a prostitute, or I want this, or I want that. No, we all started out as little kids with big dreams. And somewhere along the course of our journey, those dreams got ripped away, and it was replaced with destructive weeds. So when we start addressing people as people, and remember that person that you're saying is a waste of space, that's somebody that has something inside of them so precious that hasn't been cultivated, that if we don't address them as a living, breathing human being, we're going to lose a cure for cancer, a cure for AIDS. We're going to lose some great scientific discovery because we looked at their situation and determined that they weren't worth it.
Yes, exactly. Now, do you have a couple questions for me as we tie up this interview?
Yes, ma'am. One thing I want to understand more of is, first and foremost, how do you create the content to captivate your audience?
Well, I wrote a book when I was 23 years old. After my mom died, my mom actually gave me the blessing to write this book. So my podcast started after I wrote the book. After the book went out into the wild and got published, not only were my friends and family buying it, complete strangers were buying it, and so complete strangers were asking, they wanted to know more about cerebral palsy. And so I said, okay, this is going to grow quick if I just do a podcast by myself. So I thought, long and hard, I said, well, why not bring inspirational people like you, Esha, on and educate myself and educate others while I'm at it. So mix cerebral palsy with education.
Excellent, excellent. Would you ever consider doing a YouTube channel broadcast maybe?
No, because you can't listen to YouTube as you're multitasking. You know, I tried that. You know, funny enough, I tried that, and it's still on my website. But you can't listen to YouTube as you're doing the dishes or as you're doing something. You can't do it. So I had a fan tell me that I want to listen to your show, but I can't sit in front of my computer and watch a YouTube.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. That's very interesting. What else should we know about cerebral palsy so that we can change the viewpoint of how someone who's diagnosed with it is seen or treated?
That we are fairly educated, that I'm getting my second degree, I am getting my second associate degree, and I'll end up with an MFA in writing. So we are educated, and people just need to respect us and respect the situation.
Awesome. Okay, my last question. What is one of the funniest things that has ever happened to you during a podcast?
Oh, geez. What is one of the funniest things? Well, before I turned 30, actually, this happened two Father's Day ago. I actually had an embarrassing moment behind the scenes that I got to tell on the podcast, and it's so funny because I typically screw up people's names and they call me out on it. They call me out on it I'm not the best journalist at getting people's names, so that's the really funny part. When I screw up a name, they call me out on it, I'll let it go, and I'm like, sorry about that. So 9 times out of 10 that I ask people before I hit the record button, how do you pronounce your name? Luckily, with you, I looked at it and studied it last night, so I didn't screw you up too bad. But that's the funny part, that I can do this podcast beautifully. It's just unique names I have a hard time with. My brain doesn't compute.
Oh, that's good. That's good. This has been
That's
so much
good.
fun.
Well, thank you for coming on and sharing your story and breaking all those stigmas. And you guys, we have show notes, so if you're out for lunch, when you guys hear this on Wednesday morning, you're more than welcome to go pick up Aisha's book or contact her, and we'll just see you guys. And then I have someone huge coming on my podcast on Tuesday, so I hope you guys enjoy that episode on Tuesday, and I will see you guys later. Thanks, you guys. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.